Teams, teams, teams. That's all we're hearing about. It's one way for agents to get a good grip on how to get into the market. It's also a great way for those that are talented enough to create teams, master their domain, and keep everybody happy and productive. They can make a very good living, build an empire. And we are talking today with Pamala Tucker, the founder and owner of the Tucker Realty Group. Welcome, Pamela.
Thank you for having me, Joe. I'm honored that you asked me to be on your show.
Yeah, this is fantastic. And so we haven't known each other that long, which makes this more interesting for me because I'm going to ask a lot of questions. I'm going to learn a lot.
So I had a marketing business for over 20 years. My background before that was international licensing, manufacturing. And so since I had all of these contacts for factories that were producing these really high level products for companies here in the US, it was an easy transition for me to kind of go into my own business. I say marketing, but I was really like the middleman. So I had some friends who worked for big companies and they said, hey, I need product. It just doesn't, we don't have the budget for it. So I would import it in from all over the world. And so I was that middleman. It was a fun journey over 22 years, actually. And some of my big clients were Bear Healthcare. I worked with a lot of the resorts and the casinos out in Nevada, and I helped them with just a lot of things that were branded with their logos on it. We did a lot of the big high roller gifts that we would import in. That was really fun. Healthcare, we did a lot of the just promotional pieces that you would get that were branded for maybe a brand relaunch or a new launch of a drug brand, anything that kind of had their logo on it. So I did a lot of that. I did not love being solo for so long, and moved to North Carolina. And I love the real estate space. I love it because it has changed the financial trajectory of my life. I've made some good investments. And so I thought, what a better time to start into the real estate space right here in North Carolina about 9 years ago.
Okay. And so you got licensed here in North Carolina. And then what was your first entry into the business? What kind of firm were you with?
I did pre-licensing and post-licensing with Fonville Morrissey out of their Preston office. They have a great education program.
For those who don't know Fonville, it is brick and mortar. It's been around this area for many years. Now it's owned by Long & Foster, which I believe is owned by Berkshire Hathaway, correct?
So started there, had an excellent BIC there, and then realized maybe it wasn't the right space for me. I went over to Keller Williams in Briar Creek. Fantastic BIC, just a great office. I have so many wonderful experiences there and made so many lifelong friends out of that office and still stay in touch with many, many of the agents there. Again, fantastic education program. I'm a lifelong learner, so I kind of gravitate to organizations that are more education focused. And so I started there I was there for about 5 or 6 years. And then I needed a change and I wanted to get out of brick and mortar. And I went over to XP Realty.
Okay. And that's a big force in a lot of markets, well, at least where from Massachusetts, where I was, it wasn't a big force. Here in the Raleigh area, it's got a presence.
Yes, it definitely does. Again, I was gravitating towards a lot of the education they had, but it spoke to me because there wasn't really a lot of boundaries. And I wanted more than I was getting in a certain market center. And so what I love about cloud-based brokerages is that we're pulling from national talent. So when you're on a mastermind and you're collaborating, it's a much higher level. We're talking with people nationally. Some of the guys that I was following are in California. That's where I was getting a lot of my education were from groups out of California. And so to be able to network with them and collaborate with them directly was very appealing.
Yeah. So EXP, and now you are with LPT. What happened there?
Great experience with EXP. I was presented with an opportunity, and it's one of those things that once you see something, you can't unsee it. And I had a conversation with the owner of LPT. I had a few different conversations with him. When I was able to talk to him about what his mission is and what his focus was and what he was doing and how he was building this business, it really spoke to me and spoke to my soul. And his story is pretty amazing. This is his third $1 billion business that he is very, very agent focused. This is the first time I've really been someplace where I felt this much support. Leadership is very involved in everything that we're doing. And we have a couple different models at LPT. So it really allows that agent, depending on where they are in their journey, to pick which model they want to be on. It's pretty ingenious on how he has really set this business up. So it was a fantastic move for me and my team. We looked at many different brokerages. I was going to stay cloud-based. That's a really good fit for me. I love having multiple streams of income. So I needed to stay in that space because I am working within revenue share, stock options. And then, of course, transactions are a most important piece of the puzzle. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So that's your journey through firms. At what point did you go from solo agent to your first hire?
That was 3 years ago. I hired an independent agent who was a little bit newer in the business. We were a good match. She was much more patient than I was. She's much more nurturing. And so I definitely brought on somebody who was very much the opposite of where I was at. And so we complement each other a lot.
That's very good self-awareness.
Yes. So I love first-time buyers, but I'm not always the best fit for them. And so she's very nurturing. She handholds them through the whole process. I'm a little bit more impatient and I go at a faster pace. So we have to look and make sure that we've got the right agent in place to help that particular client.
Right. Okay. So, and is that agent still with you?
She is. Yeah.
Great. Fantastic.
She told me I'm with her for life, so I don't.
Yeah.
She said I'm stuck with her for life.
Well,
so,
good.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
So that's a challenge being a leader, right? I mean, really good leaders, sometimes you create such good people that they're going to fly the nest, and that's a natural thing. It should be a compliment to you. It's also a compliment if somebody's going to stay with you and keep it going too.
Yeah.
So that's a good win.
Yeah.
So you had the first.
Yes.
What about support? Did you have a TC in place? Did you have anything on that end?
Yeah. So the first thing I leveraged even before and bringing on an agent, a buyer's agent who was focused on the buyers, was a transaction coordinator. And so I like to we don't have somebody in-house. I use independent firm. That's really worked well for us. But that was the first thing that I leveraged is let's get somebody to do that. And if I'm adding up, how much my hourly rate is depending on how many deals I've done through the year, I realized very quickly that I needed to farm that work out to someone else and I need to just stay focused on my buyers and sellers.
When, I have this conversation many times with agents who are reluctant to get a TC. Do you feel like you should have done it earlier, or was it just the right time where you just had no more capacity and you had to get rid of it?
I feel like I always should have done something a little bit sooner. I mean, I started with them. I should have probably done it about 5 or 6 years ago, but it was about 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago that I started with the TC. And I wouldn't go back. I don't even know how to do half of it. So I like to stay I'm good at what I do and I hire someone else because they're very good at what they do.
That's perfect. And part of the conversation they have with about the TCs are agents are waiting until they have a certain amount of business.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like the chicken and the egg. If you're spending so much time working on paperwork, you're not going out to get new business. You're not going to get new business as quickly. So take the risk, and it's not a risk. It really isn't. If you manage it well and you can't have your clients pay for that, if you put it in the right way, and it should not be a burden. It should be a huge advantage for somebody to leverage that. Okay, that's my spiel on that.
Well, so it's not really any risk. So what's the risk? You hire somebody for one transaction. You're not committed to them. If it doesn't work out, we switched TC companies multiple times. Everyone had something great about them, but there was a reason why we needed to move. And so what's the risk? That, you paid to have a few transactions done. There's no risk. the reward is so great. But I think that when you look at the numbers and you take up, what did you make this past year? And then you calculate what your hourly rate is. And then you calculate how much it took you to work on that file and how many times you followed up. All of a sudden you realize you lost money by doing paperwork.
Absolutely.
So it's an easier mind shift when you start putting it on paper and look at the dollars.
Absolutely. So, all right. So now you have your first agent, and where are you? What's happened since you brought on your first?
So the first agent we brought on was Lori Whitnack, and then the next agent who came on board was Alice-Ann Elam, and she came in as a hybrid role, which I'm a big believer in hybrid roles, right? She came in as the director of marketing, but also she's a licensed agent. I just feel like the most valuable thing we have is our license. I really love for everyone on the team to make sure that they're in that transactional space, so they're relevant to what's going on. So Sam came on, really did an overhaul on our marketing, helped us tremendously with what we were doing, and helped position us for growth in the marketing space. So she does transactions, she does multiple transactions during the year, and she handles all the marketing for us. So
yeah, that your assets for your branding and your marketing is pretty amazing. Got to see that last week, and it's really thorough, well thought out, and very, very professional looking.
It's great, and she does a really good job on it. And everything we do is really collaborative as a team, and so we give all our input, and then she can put it together and it's magic, right? And so she is so good with the client and making sure everything that we do speaks directly to that particular client and help us promote the business and the team.
Cool. Good. What else?
And then we have Mackenzie Davis, who came on board, and she's, again, a hybrid role. So Mackenzie is a great licensed agent. She does really well in that space, but the agent, so she does agent support. She does client support. She's helping us with the listings and coordinating the listings and helping us behind the scenes in operations. So she's got a lot of things going on all the time. She does a great job. She's a huge asset for us. But again, that license is very, very valuable. Right now, she's got multiple deals going on. And so we just try to have that delicate balance between when she's in transactions and when she's supporting the team.
You actually supported me, and I'm not even on the team.
Yes.
That's cool collaboration. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. And so that's something that, and I don't know if I'm supposed to share all this, but that's something that even she does outside of the team. And so with the new brokerage, we have so many agents coming on board. We pay her kind of outside of her regular role to help us onboard agents like yourself, because I just don't have any more time, and you need time and attention when you're onboarding, right? And agents we want to make sure we want to create raving fans with agents that are coming to our brokerage, right? We want to make sure they have a really smooth transaction. The brokerage does a great job with it, but we want to do even better. And so we want to make sure that there's that personal care that you are given when you're onboarding.
So I'm new to this whole cloud-based type of business. Is normal where there's somebody local?
Is somebody local to onboard you? No, that's something we do. I mean, that's our feeling when you come within our team, and what we really promote is a higher level of concierge service. So we're high touch, and because we're creating raving fans with buyers and sellers, right? But we want to do the same thing with you, Joe. When you come on, I mean, I think you're a raving fan. I think you had an excellent experience coming on board, and she took very, very good care of you. So that's something outside of her normal role that she does for us also.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, I wasn't sure how that works, so I'm glad you clarified that.
Yes. Yeah. So that's a whole separate role outside of what she does. She does that too. And every week she's helping us onboard new agents. She keeps us in the loop, let us know what she needs. And she's got a good system perfected there for onboarding.
Yeah. She was very good. Okay. So let me ask you this. So we're talking about, you're the team leader, get into that role a little bit more and how that works. What I want to ask first is team agents. A lot of agents are confused. Should I go solo? Should I join a team? It appears when they're looking at splits, which is never the question I hope anybody's asking. Yeah, it seems that they always get concerned not making as much money. And
sure.
Can you break the myth and get that out. And
So before I even do that, I want to add one more agent that we had come on was Phil Letty. I said I would never bring on board a brand new agent. He was a little bit different. We saw some real skill in what he was doing. He was a professional. He was in that professional golfing. He has some really good client service, right? When you're in that space, he's a golf pro. He running one of the clubs. So there's a lot of customer care there. So he understood that piece of it. So Phil came on board as a new agent. And one of the great stories that I love to tell about him is we do our weekly check-ins. I do a private check-in with each one of the agents. And he said, I don't know how an agent ever does this on their own. Like, this is such a hard business. There's so much going on. How does somebody just go out there alone and do this? He said that this is just invaluable what he gets within the team.
Sure.
And so I love that that's how he feels, right?
And that's a great segue into that previous question.
Yeah, absolutely. And so some people are just independent and solo. I don't know if I would be great going on someone's team right now, but I definitely should have done that when I started in real estate. I just didn't know any better. And so I'm very, very independent, but it would have done me a world of service if I had started that way. And so I think that the real estate world is so difficult. There's so many things going on. I don't really know another industry where it's just this constant evolution of different changes, different scenarios. And even though I've been doing it for 9 years, every single transaction is different. So as a new agent coming into the business, I think teams are the way to go. I think they will help you get to where you want to go a lot faster. I feel like I would be at a different place if I started on a team.
What is the support that you offer when somebody comes on board?
So we're a small team. We're looking to grow to a certain size in 2025, but not past a certain agent count, because we're very, very hands-on. And so our schedule, we're very scheduled out through the week. We do Mondays, we do a check-in call with each one of the agents and talk about, what their goals were for the week. What was their goal last week? Did they meet that goal? If they didn't, what can we change this week so they can get to that goal? We do our meetings on Tuesday morning. We do a mastermind that you come to every week on Thursdays. We do that. But we talk to each other every single day. I'm very involved in every transaction they have going on, but there's other people on the team they may reach out to. So Phil might reach out to Mackenzie and ask a question because he knows she's super well versed in certain things, right? And so we're very collaborative in that way and very involved in what we're doing. And so at a team meeting, you'll see us, we start always with what's your win of the week? And that might be personal. That might be, but we talk about that and we're very personally involved and cheering each other on. And on our chat group, right? If anybody's, goes under contract, we're cheering you on. If anybody needs support, we're there to do that. So I think that high level of support is essential in what we're doing for sure.
So as far as the support things or what you offer them, is you have a TC, they have access to that. What else? The marketing, sounds like you have that locked up with Alsan.
Yeah. So the focus is for the agents. If you are a full-time agent, you are just focused on buyers and sellers. That's all I want you to be focused on. So how can we take care of all of the other things going on? We use Follow Up Boss as our CRM. And so we automate everything we possibly can. We have campaigns on there. We would teach you as an agent coming on board, this is how you input your client's information, and this is how to set them up on a campaign. So it's set it and forget it. And so now they're on regular, reminders. So marketing, we also, we have paid leads that come through, but we also teach them how to farm and how to really, that's our main focus, is how to farm and how to build that business. It's a long-term game, but it's very, very important for them to know that. And so we promote and do marketing around each agent individually. The team's name's on it, but we're promoting them. So like, here's my mailer, right? Has my information, same messaging, right? But here's Alisanne's for her, right? Here's Lori's. So we want to brand the agents also. We want to make sure they're farming. We want to make sure, Alisanne's face is on the marketing pieces that are going out. And so that I think is very nice. And done very often on teams.
Not that, especially looking that nice too. It's high
Yeah.
quality. And so Alice Ann is taking care of that, or are they putting the lists out? How much involvement does an agent have in that?
So our farming efforts are done very strategically. Every agent picks 2 neighborhoods as their main focus. One, maybe the neighborhood you live in because you already have some type of connection there, right? Or maybe a neighborhood that you've done a lot of business in. And then we want to level up neighborhood, maybe something that's in a multi-million dollar. So if you're focused on luxury, let's make sure you're farming luxury needs. And so we take those neighborhoods and then we run some reports and look at the stats and make sure that there's enough of a turnover rate in there. And so we don't want to be putting a lot of dollars into a neighborhood that's 2 houses sold last year.
Right.
Is
there a certain percentage you look for when you're doing that?
It doesn't have to be. So if we're looking, Allison's a perfect example of that. She was going to farm her neighborhood because she lives there, right? Why not? But if she went directly across the street, the sale rate there was like 30%. Like it was tremendously higher. So yeah, we're just going to take what you were going to do in this subdivision and go literally across the street because the numbers make sense, right?
Yeah. Brilliant.
And so you just need to make sure, you can look at these pretty beautiful neighborhoods, but if nobody's selling, we're not going to put the dollars into marketing to that particular neighborhood.
That's brilliant. Smart. All right. So the agents, to get to the nut of what a team agent does on your team, they are out selling. They're out in front of people, building their business.
Yeah.
And it sounds like everything else is taken care of.
We want to provide them with the support that they need behind the scenes. If they have listings, Mackenzie's involved in coordinating that listing, making sure that everything's done. That agent has a lot of responsibility for getting the information for the listing and coordinating with the client, but Mackenzie also is hands-on with that to make sure it's done a certain way and there's a certain system that needs to be done. And then we really focus on open houses. That is a way that we have gotten a lot of our return on investment is really good and the conversion is very high. So our highest conversion, like most people, would be our sphere and open houses.
Great. That's probably every other or every third conversation I have about open houses. Someone's saying that it's a waste of time. They don't work. Yeah, I did. They're good. If you know how to work them, how do you get your agents to be efficient and be able to engage with people? Are you coaching them, training them?
Sure. Yeah. I love to. Lori and I used to do all the open houses together when she started. And she got so good at it. And she has her own way of doing an open house now, but there's certain things that really need to be done. And the biggest compliment that I got is one day somebody had called me and said, "Hey, I was at your open house for one of your listings this past weekend. And I want to talk to this woman that I met. I just don't know her name." And I said, "Well, was it me?" And I gave him my name. And he said, "I don't want to offend you." And I said, that's a huge compliment. He said, "She gave us so much information and she was so helpful. And I lost her card." And he was anxious to get in touch with her before she had even gotten in touch with him. It was a compliment. And so I think we are excited about doing open houses. They're very successful for us. We definitely do some marketing around that. We're doing circle prospecting. We're knocking on the neighbors' doors. We're promoting it. We do a lot of handouts within the open house. Normally there's not paper, right? They don't hand you anything. You kind of going into an open house and you leave empty-handed. We utilize a lot of print material, giving you everything in the house. We have QR codes that we're using for people who don't want to, walk away with the paper. And then we do a lot of follow-up. They're immediately put into our CRM and then put onto a campaign. And they're getting regular, from the time that we connect with them, they're getting daily to weekly emails from us. And then we already have weekly emails like our newsletter and some other things that go out. And so they're put right on there. And it's not very often that we get somebody who unsubscribes. So
that's great.
That works well for us. But it's a long term. Some of them, we've closed deals 2 years after we've met somebody at an open house. We just stay in touch with them.
Yeah. A lot of people want that instant gratification, that instant sale. This is not that kind of business all the time. It's the more often it's a longer process, and the relationship building takes time.
Well,
So
the other thing that I think, one more thing I wanted to tell you about open houses, if you're farming a neighborhood and we don't have a listing in there, our agents will call somebody who has the listing and say, "Can we help you out?" And sometimes they say, "Absolutely not," right? And other times, "Sure, I'm happy for you to help because, I don't want to do my own open house anyway." And so if we're farming an area and we can do all the open houses there and we're regularly doing them, then we see those buyers coming through and they get to know us. And there's a few neighborhoods that we do on a regular basis. Whenever we have an open house, we know half the people who come in, right? And so they're looking, and they may have been with a different agent and eventually say, "We're still looking. Our agent hasn't done what they need to be doing for us. We'd like to come on over and work with you all and see if you can help us find the right home."
that's fantastic. Do you also do events with your agent?
We do, like, there was one that we just had in downtown a couple months ago where it was just hop in and have a drink. And so it was one of the local bars down there. It was a beautiful fall afternoon and it was just super easy. And then we just had a big event here at our office, and we had cookies with Santa, professional photographer, a big cookie bar, letters to Santa, all of the things. So, yeah.
That's fantastic. So you have quite a program going on. How long did it take you to put this together? I know you've been at it for 3 years. Did you come in with a structure, what you envisioned you wanted to build, or was it kind of putting it together as you grew?
For the team, is that
Yeah,
I think that I did not know what I wanted the team to look like. I always wanted to be very small. I never wanted a big team. I just felt like I just wanted manageable growth. I wanted every agent to feel like they were an intricate part of what we were doing. I was never worried about numbers. If you're giving 110%, fantastic with me, right? And so I'm not going to say, I've been at other firms and they say, "Hey, you have to sell at least 12 homes this year." And I have watched team leaders, when they sold 11, they had to let them go because they didn't sell 12. And I will never forget that. And I just felt like I never wanted to be that person. And if somebody's, "Hey, your goal this year is to sell 12 homes or 20 homes," and you fell short, well, great. Let's figure out why you fell short and try to fix it the following year. How can we adjust some of your daily activities? But I think that a lot of the things that we do just kind of grew and into what it is now from collaboration. And I value the agents for many different reasons, and we're all good at different things. And we definitely have input. And so there may be things that I'm a little bit better at, and I'll, run the show on that. But, Al might be something that she's really an expert at, and we let her take the reins, or Mackenzie. And, Phil's got incredible input in what we're doing. Lori does a fantastic job in many things. And so Lori's doing some email campaigns. She's got like a 50 to 55% open rate. We're like, "What are you doing?" And so she can come and sit with us and show us what she's doing, why she has such success. And we'll take some pointers from her.
that's great. As a team leader, as you are, what do you wish you knew when you started that you could share with somebody who's thinking about building a team?
Sure. I think that we look at it, where we are today and where we want to be in 5 or 10 years down the road. And I think that that's great. You have your goal, but I think we need to just focus on one step at a time. And so you don't feel overwhelmed. It's a little bit scary of a concept when you're thinking about, how am I going to do all of the things? And how about you just do one thing? You do one thing today, and then you do one more thing tomorrow. And I don't think there's a high risk to anything within this team building. And so if you say you want to have a team with 2 people or 10 people or 20, just start with one and see how it goes. And if it's not a success, great, try a different one.
Right.
And then try it again. And so the only way you're going to really fail is if you stop trying. And I think there's no perfect solution. And all those people that tell you that they have the perfect solution, I don't think they do. And some of it's just gut. I mean, I love my team. We have amazing energy. We spend most of our time trying to stay on task because we laugh a whole lot. And so we really have a great time together. We look forward to seeing each other when we all can be in the same room, in the same space. And so it is Now my goal is to preserve that, right? And you've got such a good thing going. How do I preserve that but still keep adding agents into the mix? But if I was, my bit of advice to somebody who wants to start a team, just start. And it's never perfect and it's never 100% organized and it's always going to be messy, but it's okay.
Your TC in place. And I encourage that be the first. If they don't already have that has to be the first thing.
Absolutely. I would say a TC is the first. And if you look at how much time and that's what I did. How much time do you spend on that file? How much did that actually cost you? And what was your, hourly rate? It's worth every dime. And, some transactions they're working a lot harder on, and other transactions it might be easier. But I also, even though, it doesn't matter where you are, your brokerage has some kind of compliance, right? And they're looking at your files. But my TC is also keeping me on track, right? And she's telling me, hey, Pam, sign this. And then when I don't, she's like, hey, you better sign this. And so I very much like to stay in my lane, and I like for her to stay in her lane, tell me what I need to get done and when it needs to be done. I pay her because she's better at it than I am.
That's great. Perfect. Leverage what you don't want to do, what takes you time, and what you're not good at. That's what I'm hearing.
Absolutely. And you can look at it as, if that time that took you, whatever the file took you to do, if it took you 2 hours, 3 hours, but if you were on the phones prospecting for 2 or 3 hours, you were door knocking, you were at an event, networking, whatever you were doing, right? I could use a lot more hours every week. And so I am happy to pay somebody else to do the transaction coordinating, which they're better at. And then for me to stay focused on working with buyers and sellers.
Beautiful. All right, let's jump off the team. Let's get into something you had mentioned earlier when you talked about leveling up on the price point. Mm-hmm. You are doing well within the luxury market. How did that happen? And how do you intentionally get your agents to get to that point and stay there?
So each agent has their own goals of where they want to be, what type of so their goal might be what type of homes they want to work in, what's the price point. If you're going to focus on $500,000 houses, great, because that's your neighborhood. But why can't you simultaneously focus on a neighborhood that's down the street that's selling $2 million houses? So that just makes sense. And so whatever you focus on grows. So if we have, right, and so we have our intention of marketing to certain neighborhoods and farm certain neighborhoods, why not say you're also going to farm a $1 million neighborhood? It just makes sense. And so we try to do a little bit of a higher end marketing for them. We want it to look a little bit different. We put some different information in there, and aesthetically it looks a little bit different. So, but I think that anybody can be in the luxury space. You have to focus on it.
And there's a lot of fear, or I'm not worthy to be there with some agents. What would you tell them?
Oh gosh, I shouldn't say this, but look at some of the agents that are already in that space. Like, not any better. Like, I'm not any better than anyone else. You just got to go out and do it. And so you shouldn't be worried about what everybody else is doing. And so the fear is just not having enough knowledge, and you just go out there and get educated on it. Watch the videos, listen to the podcast, and go out. The builders have plenty of opportunities for you to come in, and it doesn't matter if you don't have a client. They have plenty of model homes, and there's the on-site agent. Go ask them the questions. Go educate yourself, just like you would do anything else. Just go educate yourself so you know more about it.
And what's your plan with luxury? It's not, as I understand from what you're saying, is you are running the breadth of transactions. It doesn't matter of the size. So obviously being in the luxury is profitable.
Yeah, it's definitely profitable. I got in that space because that's where my clients were going, right? And so I had somebody who was selling and they were leveling up, and they went into a neighborhood house, and now they're in 1.5 or $2 million house. And so they take you in a direction. But that same, seller who is also my buyer and in that luxury neighborhood, we focus on developing their investment portfolio. So now that takes us into another category. So we do a lot of new construction townhomes, and then it's like that 400,000 price point and under for the investor. But this same client was at 800,000, they're at 2 million, they're at 400,000. So we need to be really well versed on all of that because that's what their needs are.
This has been a loaded conversation. Well, thank you. Seriously, this is some great information. I'm hoping that the listener here is taking notes or going to rewind this. And if you are enjoying the show, please subscribe or follow us, and we'll continue to bring on some extremely talented and exciting guests. As Pamela, what was for closing it out? Let's go back to the team piece of it.
Sure.
Let's look at it from the agent side. What should an agent be asking when they are looking to join a team?
I think clarity. I mean, just to be really clear about what's the expectation of that team leader, that they have to be really clear on whether there's splits. You have to make sure, like, so for on our team, there's certain, obligations they have when they have to be at meetings, required? No, but they want to be there, right?
Right.
But I think going and interviewing with a team, be clear about what they're expecting from you, what your splits are, so you understand what the value is. We would always hate for somebody to say, hey, I didn't quite understand that. I think you always should sit in on the team meetings and just get a feel for what's going on, and don't rush into it. We've had people sit in our team meetings multiple times to see if it kind of was the right fit. We ask them questions, get them involved, and see, are they a right fit for us, or are we a right fit for them? But I think asking all the questions, what does that support look like? Who would be their direct contact when they need support? Is support available 24/7? I don't literally mean 24/7, but is somebody around at 9 o'clock when a really challenging client has some questions you want to answer? And I think that it's really important that you have a great mentor or coach on that team to help you out along the way.
Right. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Pamela, thanks so much for joining me today and sharing your knowledge. And it's been great.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate your time, and I look forward to seeing you again.
Be bet. See you soon. Be best. Have fun.